In the 1870s, workers sinking a well into a dusty claypan in remote northern New South Wales struck something strange in the ground. The bones of animals larger than anything living in the district. What they'd found sat mostly undisturbed until the early 1990s, when a team from the University of New South Wales dug back into the same claypan and uncovered something that should not, according to the accepted science of the time, have been impossible. Buried in the same layer of earth were the bones of extinct giants and the stone tools of the people who may have hunted them together. And more than 30 years of dating, disputes, and reanalysis still haven't fully settled what that actually means. Before we go further, if you want to keep discussing ancient Australian discoveries like this one with people who find this stuff as fascinating as we do, we've started a free Skool community link below. Come join us. A lake that barely counts as a lake. Cuddie Springs sits in the semi-arid riverine plains of northern New South Wales, near the small town of Corinda. Calling it a lake is generous. It's a claypan roughly 200 metres across, a shallow depression that fills briefly after local rainstorms and can take months to fully dry out again. That slow drying is exactly what allowed so much to survive inside it. Pollen evidence recovered from the site indicates that around 40,000 years ago, this same dry, dusty basin was a large permanent lake surrounded by open shrubland, the kind of environment capable of supporting genuine megafauna populations, herds of animals that would have gathered at its edges to drink during the long dry stretches between rains, exactly the kind of predictable water source that would also have drawn the people living in this landscape toward the same shrinking shoreline. Fossils had been known here since the 1870s, and the Australian Museum ran a formal excavation in 1933 that recovered a wide range of extinct animal bone. But that dig found no human evidence at all. It wasn't until testing for pollen preservation resumed in 1991 that researchers noticed something the 1933 team had missed entirely: a dense layer of flaked stone tools sitting directly alongside the bone. What was actually found together? The main excavations, carried out from 1996 through 2009 by Judith Field and her colleagues, revealed a sequence of sediment layers reaching 10 metres deep. In the upper layers, they found something that had never been documented anywhere else on the Australian continent: stone tools and the remains of extinct megafauna, including Diprotodon and the giant flightless bird Genyornis, sitting in the same stratified layer, dated to around 36,000 years old. Some of the recovered stone tools carried preserved blood and hair residue consistent with butchering, and a number of grinding stones were found in the same Pleistocene age layer, suggesting people were processing plant food at a date far earlier than grinding technology had previously been documented anywhere in Australia. If accurate, the implication was extraordinary. Humans and Australia's giant megafauna appeared to have coexisted at this one location for as long as 10 to 15,000 years, directly contradicting the leading theory that humans wiped out Australia's megafauna in a rapid wave shortly after first arriving on the continent. That single claim, more than any other detail from the site, is what has kept Cuddie Springs at the centre of Australian paleontology for over 2 decades, because the two competing extinction theories it bears directly on, rapid human overkill versus a slower climate-driven decline, lead to very different conclusions about how fragile this continent's ecosystems actually were. The 30-year argument over whether any of this is real. Cuddie Springs is, by its own excavator's account, the only known site in the entire country where megafauna remains and human archaeological material occur together in a stratified deposit. That uniqueness is precisely what has made it one of the most fiercely disputed sites in Australian science. Critics, led by researchers including Richard Gillespie and Barry Brook, have argued the entire association is an illusion created by site disturbance. Statistical analysis of the site's 16 radiocarbon dates found that age did not consistently increase with depth, the opposite of what an undisturbed sequence should show, which they interpret as evidence the sediment has been mixed and reworked over time. They've also pointed to a fossilised tooth from a species of crocodile that had already gone extinct well before 40,000 years ago, found in the same bone-bearing layer, along with hair residue found without the bone collagen you'd expect to find alongside it if both were genuinely the same age. Field and her colleagues have pushed back directly on each point. They've argued the site's rare earth element signatures show each layer has its own distinct chemical fingerprint, arguing against bones being washed in from elsewhere or shuffled between layers after burial. They maintain their luminescence, dates increase consistently with depth, and that the specific style of stone tool found in each layer changes distinctly over time. Exactly what you'd expect from an undisturbed sequence rather than a jumbled one. Direct radiocarbon dating of the bones themselves has never been possible at all, since the megafauna bone at the site contains no detectable collagen protein to test. Where the case actually stands, neither side has produced anything close to a knockout argument, and the dispute has now run for more than 2 decades in peer-reviewed literature, with detailed rebuttals and counter-rebuttals published as recently as the late 2000s. What both sides agree on is simple. Cuddie Springs is the only place in Australia this argument is even possible, because it's the only site where these two kinds of evidence occur together at all. Whether that makes it the most important megafauna site on the continent or the most misleading one is a question the scientific record still hasn't closed. And until someone finds a second Australian site where the same pattern repeats, Cuddie Springs will likely remain both the strongest evidence and the single most contested claim in the entire debate over how and when this continent's giants actually disappeared.